everybody. My dad thinks his podcast is amazing, so please subscribe, give it 5 stars or whatever, and maybe he'll finally stop talking about it. Anyways, welcome to Sobriety.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Today we have another special guest, Janae Murray, who's a very good friend of mine and Jessica's. Good, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we just wanted to dive right in and talk about your sobriety. Basically, what was your turning point in your life where you decided, hey, this isn't for me anymore. I'm going sober. This is why.
Oh gosh, that is a decades-long question or answer, I guess. For me, my drinking was always problematic in the sense that when I started, there really was just no off switch for me. I definitely wasn't one of those daily drinkers, in the beginning, and it grew over time, but I tried to moderate and tried to make rules around my consumption, for probably 10 years, but really heavily in the last, when COVID hit, and I was really trying to start a health journey for myself, and wanted to be a better example to my kids and wanted them to have a better relationship with alcohol than I did, but I kept failing, and I kept drinking to blackout when I would drink. And it just, one day, and I remember someone saying that to me, one day it'll click for you. And when you're really ready to quit, you'll figure it out. And I just got so tired, that saying, being so tired of being sick and tired. And that's exactly what it was. I woke up, I was probably still drunk and just was so sick of it and so sick of trying to go through all those mental gymnastics. I know that's a phrase we use, often, of trying to moderate when I was clearly terrible at it. And it was scary because the first time I actually had that moment of, I think I have to be alcohol free was a terrifying thought to me because I'd never lived my life without alcohol. Everything centered around alcohol for me, holidays, birthdays, coming home from work, gardening. I mean, everything was, okay, when are we going to drink again? And when are we going to have fun? And how was my life going to look without alcohol in it? It was terrifying. How do you go to the beach without a bucket of beer? Who does that? And I finally just had to come to that acceptance of, I think I have to try something different because this isn't working. And I cried a lot. I found our platform, that, our community, and hid in the background for probably a couple of weeks with my camera off with a different name and was just scared of knowing someone or somebody seeing my shame and seeing, that, in some ways it felt like I couldn't control it, but I really couldn't when I drank. Like if I was drinking, like we're going all in. But when I would stop, I could stop, if that makes sense. Like I could have those dry spells. Okay, I'm going to do 30 days sober, or whatever, alcohol free. And I could land that. But again, I just never could picture my life fully without it. And when I finally just kind of came to that acceptance of I have to try something new and just call this forever. And I know that's a scary word for a lot of people, but for me, if I give myself an inch, I'm going to take it. So for me, I had to say, let's try forever and see how this works. And I did. And with every event and every social outing, not all of it was easy, but the more I succeeded and the more I could see that my life wasn't boring and that I could still have fun and I could be the mother and example that I wanted to be for my kids. Like I started just landing all of my goals. I, finally hit my goal weight. I started, just all these things just kind of finally started to fall into place. And it's just been the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah, you and I are very similar backgrounds when it comes to drinking, that's for sure. So like when you said, there's basically no limit, right? I guess we're called like green light drinkers.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as we start, it's on. And I've said it many times. It's like one's too many, 20's never enough. And you and I are very similar in that way. Another thing we're very similar in is, saying forever. And you're right. A lot of people have a really tough time saying, wow, is this forever? And it's a mindset, right? Because I know with some people, it's like, maybe if something catastrophic happens and I'm going to do that, and that's their mindset. And if it works for them, it's fine. But for people like you and I, forever is forever. And that's the way we have to approach, every single day, is that we're not going to do it today, tomorrow, ever again. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you 100% on that. And one thing you did talk about was your goals. And that's something I wanted to ask you about. So, you're hitting some of your goals now, but, what are some of your future goals going forward? Now that you're sober and clear-minded, what goals do you have going forward, as far as like growth goes, personal growth and your sobriety growth? What does that look like?
Well, I would have told you a 10K, but I finally hit that goal, and everybody asked if I was going to do a half marathon next. And I have a car. I'm good. I'm good. I hit the 10K. I might revisit that one just to beat my speed, because I was that was my first one. I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't really trained very well for it. I am definitely more into, I think all of us sober girls go into, weightlifting, and yoga and all the things. So I definitely have those goals. Like, I'm working out better. And I started a new business, and I really want to work towards a laptop lifestyle. I enjoy what I do. I'm lucky that I still work from home, and I don't know what will happen within that company. So I want to have something of my own where I can be anywhere in the world and work my business from it. And so I've got that as a goal. I'm trying to think some other ones. I wasn't expecting that type of question. So.
Well, speaking of, and your new business, so go ahead and tell us about it. What is your new business venture?
I'm doing a travel advisory. And so right now I'm more focused on cruises and working towards land packages and things like that, and group travel, things like that. So I've considered maybe doing some sober group travel and things, just kind of have that little niche market. But I really enjoy going everywhere. I like to explore new places with Michael, and, why wouldn't I want to try to share that knowledge and take place? I always say, where are we going? Let's go. As much as I love being home in my space, because I spend a lot of time at home, I am a hermit. But when it comes to getting on the road and going and doing things, I'm all in. I'm going to Zion National Park backpacking, so a little bit of adventure travel next month. So that's fun. And so learning a lot, and I want to explore all the cultures and learn about everyone and share it with everyone.
Sounds amazing.
That sounds like us a lot. To get back to when you finally decided, I'm never drinking again, like it was a solid never. I know for you, Ryan, you had been sober-ish many times, right? And I see this as a theme just as a loved one, where it normally takes multiple times. Like the first few times you stop drinking or you go to rehab or whatever your journey looks like, it's usually just more performative, right? Like you're just doing it to really appease other people and also yourself, because you convince yourself if you can allow these other people to be quiet about your drinking, or if they're happy, you're happy. So what did that look like for you? Like, had you tried to quit drinking or cut back before? And if so, what was different when you finally decided this is forever this time?
That's an interesting question. And I am probably not going to be able to answer it fully. I absolutely tried to quit. I don't know how many times where I said, okay, this, especially on a hangover morning, I'm never doing this again. I'm so sick. And why do I do this to myself? And the beat up and and I did it again. I overdrank. I went over my number that I said I was going to go. I was only going to have 2 glasses and I had like 6, or whatever that looked like. And, it was, I think that word performative is perfect, because it would be that. And then an event would happen. Oh, well, I can't not drink at that event. I'll just have 2 or whatever. And I would do okay for a while, but it would be that slippery slope back to where I'm at home when the kids are gone and I am, face first in a bottle of wine or a bottle of, whatever. And it just was this pattern and this cycle of shame. And it finally just came to this head one night. There wasn't really a true rock bottom for me. I think one of our coaches says it best, where, there were so many things in my world that it was where the unacceptable behaviors became acceptable to me. And I had a lot of shame revolving around a lot of my decisions that I was making. And being a mother, I don't know, it just clicked one day where that night, and I said, I can't do this anymore. And I don't know if the word forever really entered my brain those first few weeks, because I was so deep in shame and regret and fear of my life's going to be boring and nobody's going to want to hang out with me and all these things. And when I was in some of these meetings, I finally thought to myself, the only way that I'm going to change is if I'm authentic. And so I turned my camera on and I put my real name on there. And my first few shares were, hi, I'm Janae and I'm new here. And thanks, and mute. I mean, it was very quick just to, claim my space, I guess is the way that I've learned some people call it. And I think just hearing so many stories that sounded so much like mine. I mean, it could have just been me out there talking and hearing that I wasn't this unicorn. And, because alcohol is just so isolating that you think it's only happening to you. It makes you feel like you're alone, and it makes you feel like you're just this disgusting, out of control person. It has that ability the next day, and it just is icky. And I don't know where along the way where I just kind of finally realized I have found people in a community that understand where I've been and can help hold me accountable for it. And I don't want to let myself or them down. I can never drink again. So I think it was kind of this transition over time where that word became less scary to me, where I could embrace that word and say, no, like I never want to be that woman that I was ever again. There was a lot of good qualities. Like I wasn't a bad person, but the things that I began to accept as normal that could be dangerous I can never go back to that. I never want my kids to, see me drunk or, and just, I don't know. So it kind of evolved. It wasn't just today's the day, it's forever. It was this evolution of just hearing people and understanding I'm not alone, and that it can be a lifestyle that I'm happy with. And I'm beyond happy the last, year that I've had. It's been amazing. And I remember it all.
That's awesome.
I remember it all.
Right. I think that's great. And I love that you touched on how it's like a slow progression, and everyone's journey is different. You and I clicked instantly, right? We, we were at the end of the table and we were kind of just in our own little world over here, right? And afterwards, I remember you're like, I knew that you would really like her. I was like, I do. And a lot of that too is we have a lot of the same mental health struggles, very self-hypercritical.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're right. Like as a mom, it's not just that you don't want your kids to see this part of you. You realize that you can tell them anything in the world, but they're going to emulate you. They're going to mirror you. And you are being a living example for them. And you talked a lot about that night we had dinner about, I mean, you were constantly like, my kids. And you're such a fantastic mom. I mean, and
Thank
you've
you.
had a whole, like, I mean, physical transformation and mental transformation. And we really were diving into that night at dinner. And what made you really want to get a grasp on just like your physical health too? Because you got some guns, girl.
You get in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see the little clips of Janae doing burpees and shit. I'm like,
Me
damn.
too. I saw that
This girl
video.
gets down.
I know. You were like texting him, I think, and you were like, should I post it? And I'm like, post it.
Fuck yeah.
Post it. Yes, just do it.
Well, I've always, I grew up dancing. I was a ballet and tap dancer for so long. And I was married for a long time to my 3 kids, to their dad, and it was not a healthy relationship. We co-parent beautifully and everything is fine now. That there was a lot of trauma to get over, and I wasn't taking care of myself. It was very easy for me to use food and alcohol to cope. I mean, that was what I did when it was after the kids would go to bed and I would be, done with my mom time. I would grab a bottle of wine and drink it and then go stand in my pantry and eat and that was my way of, relaxing from my day. And it was really unhealthy. I was just really, really not taking care of myself. And that's kind of where things started. I really wanted to lose weight and I really wanted to be the athletic person that I had been in my youth. I mean, I was always, the thicker girl growing up. I was never the tiny person. And, but I was, I could dance and I could do drill team and all those things. And I really wanted to just, again, be another example to my children. In particular to my daughter, I really wanted to be an example for her because she is junior Janae and I want her to love herself. And I didn't love myself. It took me a long time to figure that out. And so part of that journey started with my health and I started to lose weight, but I couldn't, I still was hanging on to the alcohol. I just held on so tight for some reason for so long, just because it's just what we did. It's what we knew. You could always have, your healthy meals and stuff, but you always had that cheat with the booze. And I would give it up for a while and then it would derail my goals. And I decided to start running and I don't know. I love yoga and I love, all those things. And it's just kind of evolved into, oh my gosh, look what I can do. And now, when I have a friend, hey, can you do 50 push-ups on your knees? I'm like, I don't know. I think I can. And I could. And I wonder how many real ones I can do if I can do 50 of those. And now I'm up to 30 real push-ups. I'm like, they get a little shallow at the end, but now it's kind of become this, what can I do and how far can I go? And especially, I'm not getting any younger and I'm never going to feel and look as good now. It's never going to get better. So hang on to that. And so I just want to take care of myself and be that. And it's making me a better mom because she sees me and my boys see me and they know that that's my time and that I'm having that self-care. And we talk about that, self-care is important and you got to take care of your body first and everything else will kind of fall into place. And they're listening. Ryan's in college now and he came home and was talking about some different things with me and, about some of the anxieties he's having, being a first-time college student. And we're talking about, when you have anxiety that gets deep, you call me or you talk to somebody and just the conversations are just completely different in the house now that I've been honest about my struggles. And because I didn't talk about that with them the first year, like they really didn't know. They knew I'd stopped drinking, but they really didn't know. And I don't know that they still really know the depth of the shame that I carried for how I behaved, in relation to them. when I hit my 1 year, that's when I really started kind of talking about it and having conversations about all of it, mental health and, the alcohol. And do you remember when this happened? They'll say, yeah. I'm like, do you know why? And they say, oh, were you drinking that night? And, yeah, I was. And, oh, I'm like, and that really wasn't safe, was it? No. And I'm like, yeah. And I don't want those things for you. So it's just been an interesting journey. I'm rambling.
Well, I've met Michael.
Yeah.
Hell of a guy.
He's great.
Love him to death.
Yeah.
Looking forward to going golfing with him next time in Dallas. So with Michael, how has that changed? The kids are going to grow up, they're going to move on, but it's always going to be you and Michael now.
Yeah.
So how has that relationship changed, from where you were to now, being sober? That's
a great question. That man is on a mission from God, apparently, because I was, when I was drinking, he would tell me, if we were out, it was different if we were out versus at home. If we were out and he started, watching me go, he would stop because you just didn't really know where or what I was going to do, or what I would say. Always fun, always kind, always happy-go-lucky. I was not a mean girl, but you just never knew what adventurous thought was going to run through my head. And so he was always on guard, and it kind of put him in this position of having to babysit me. And I have a lot of regret over that because, he would try to tell me, hey, you've had this many whiskeys, you should probably stop or you're going to throw up in the car. And here's me in denial. I'm fine. I can have 6 more. We're good, and then inevitably, he's having to take care of me. And it just wasn't fun for him. But there was never any point where he said, it's me or the booze. And which is shocking because there were some instances where, he could have, and he would just look at me hungover the next day and just laugh and say, you're going to figure it out one day. Like, I think he just had this I know he had this unwavering faith in me that I would figure it out and, be my true authentic self, because I was masking so much with the alcohol because I didn't want to deal with something. And if I didn't want to deal with something, I would just, let's just go drink and I don't have to think about it. And so now there's trust, when I go to the nail salon, he doesn't have to worry about me drinking too much at the nail salon and, things like that. Or if we go out, and I'm looking at the menu, I'm looking at the bar menu to judge the bar basically, and to find, if there's something I either want to substitute out to have a mocktail or, I get a little judgy at the restaurants and stuff now. Like, where's your mocktail section? Or I'll ask hey, how creative is your bartender? And if they say they're not, I'm like, okay, then cran soda is fine, or just bring me water. But, it's definitely built a lot of trust, back, because he knows I'm not going to drink. He doesn't have to worry about me going out with my friends and how hammered am I going to come home later, or, things like that, after a night out. So there's definitely a lot of trust. And so we're stronger, and our best vacations have been our sober vacations. I mean, we talked about that just last night, I said, what was your favorite trip? And we started talking about it, and he's like, and you weren't drinking, and we remembered everything. And, we went and worked out in the gym in the mornings. Like, who does that on vacation? We do now.
We do.
We're so weird. Like, we're those weirdos in the gym on vacation now. And it's great. And to be able to, have those those mornings of sunrises and be clear headed and have coffee on the balcony and just be together and be able to remember all of it has just been, all the vacations we've wasted in the past where I don't remember it. And just, it kills me now, because you spend so much time and you make all this energy and effort to plan these trips, just to be shit-faced by it by the end. I mean, like, it's so interesting how my thought processes have changed, because before it was always booze centered, and now it's just, what can we do and what can we remember and what memory can we build and share? So it's definitely a much, much deeper relationship now than it was before, even though that man could have cut and run a couple of times and I wouldn't have blamed him.
Yeah, he's definitely a saint, that's for sure. I say the same thing about Jessica. It's amazing that she stuck around through all the shit that, you know, I put her through the same stuff, because it feels like you and I were the same. We kind of planned our time, our vacations, everything was like, well, when can I get a drink?
Mm-hmm.
And that was always my biggest problem. You know, we go to Disney like all the time. Love it. But my thing was, you know, I didn't want to go to Magic Kingdom because they didn't serve booze there.
Yeah.
I wanted to go everywhere else where I knew I could get a drink whenever I wanted one, or I felt triggered to want one, even though I'm having a great time with my family. It's like, fuck, man, if I just had a beer right now, everything would be fine. So that, you know, I get triggered and then I'm like, where can I get one?
Yeah.
And I knew where I couldn't get it. And those are the places I avoided.
Right. Or the booze was going to enhance the fun that you're already having.
Yes.
Even though
Even though it was bullshit. And I don't remember what happened, you know, until she tells me, you know, a few weeks later, or I see a picture and be like, fuck, what happened there? When was this taken?
Yeah, we recently ran across a TikTok that our daughter had filmed when we were at Epcot one time. And in the moment, I mean, I always knew, you know, you, as the loved one, you keep the peace, especially with kids. Like, you don't want to make a scene. And Lily was just having a good time, you know, goofy dad, and you were having a good time, drunk Ryan. And
I don't remember.
Right. And I mean, this was probably within the past 6 months we came across it.
Yeah.
And it was a video that Lily loved and like thought was so funny. And I showed it to him and his face was like, you need to tell her to delete that. Like, that's awful. I can't even believe that. But now what the crazy thing is you're even funnier and more goofy.
Now we'll do TikToks or dancing or whatever and goofy shit. And that's even better, you know, even better what it was. Cause I was always, that's one of the things when I got sober, I was like, well, I'm not going to be the funny guy anymore. Or my daughters maybe not have that much fun with me or may not want to hang out with me anymore. Now it's just
opposite
excelled. Now all she wants to do is spend time with me and hang out with me, do TikToks or go to concerts or whatever. So that's been a blessing. I love that. That's been incredible.
That's
Absolutely
awesome.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But going back to like when I was talking about being on a trip and like having triggers and cravings. So one of my best sayings that I have stolen from you, and don't mind telling you this, is I'm sitting in my shitty diaper right now.
Oh.
I say it all the fucking time, and I always give you credit for it, by the way.
All of the time.
So when you are having those moments of sitting in your shitty diaper, like a craving or triggers, things like that, how are you combating those now versus obviously before you were just reaching for the bottle?
Right.
How are you combating those now for anybody out there that's having those issues?
Gosh, shitty diaper moments are never fun. A lot of times now, I mean, I do have a great accountability group. I mean, these ladies, and I've got a couple of, you know, friends like you and a few other that I can reach out to anybody at any time at this point within the community or Michael, I should say. And just, here's what's happening. Here's what's going on. You know, that actually happened even once I was having a really, really bad day and I wanted a drink so bad. And I don't usually get a lot of cravings. Like I said, when I said I was done, I'm out, I'm done. But that particular day, I thought I just need one of those little airplane bottles. And I drove myself to the liquor store. And I'm standing in the liquor store and I walk in and the first counter that's there has this wall. I mean, it's this giant wall of all the different airplane bottles of the Tito's and the tequila and all the things I used to drink. And I'm standing there looking at it and I'm like, okay, are those like angels, like, oh, above it? Yeah. Or, you know, and then I just started crying and I just reached out to, you know, I'm standing in a liquor store. I'm having a bad day. This is, you know, really shitty. I just want one drink. Why can't I have just one? And then one of my friends said to me, she's like, Janae, it was never just one. What the fuck are you doing? Like, it was never just one. What is one going to do? Get out of there. And I walked around, asking different people, do you have any alcohol free anything here? I was so pathetic. I was deep in that diaper and just so sad. And then bought a few AF things, carried it out crying. I mean, I was like that poor cashier, like, what is wrong with this woman? And she's not even buying like the real thing. I'm like the crappy AF wines and stuff. And I went home, and Michael's standing there, and he had been tracking me because he knew I was having a bad day, and he saw that I was in a liquor store, and he was really worried. And I came home and I opened the bottle. I'm like, and I'm just mad at the, and I would pour it, and this is shitty too. And just like, it was just this terrible, terrible, shitty diaper moment. And sometimes you just got to go to bed. And that's what I did that night. But I had people behind me that were checking on me. I've got, I have Michael that is, there. If I wanted to have it, he would have been like, okay, but we're going to start over tomorrow. And so there is a toolkit. There is, I definitely say, get some friends, find your sober people. And even some of the people that are in my life that still drink, I could probably reach out to. There's a couple in particular that I could be like, I'm just having a bad day, and they would come over and we'll just hug you. But not isolating has been the biggest change, because that was my MO before. I would isolate with alcohol, and that's the worst thing you can do, honestly, is just isolate. You have to talk about it. You have to reach out to someone. You have to, or put yourself to bed, take a bath, go to bed. Podcasts, all those typical quit lick stuff. I mean, a lot of people rely on that. That never was my thing. It was really just sitting through it until I could get out of it, or go for a rage run. I used to call them rage runs. I'd get on the treadmill and run as hard as I could, and then couldn't figure out why I couldn't run a mile. And I'm like, well, if you try to run like your ass is on fire, you can't do that for a mile. You got to find your pace. So once I found my pace, I'm like, look, I can do a 5K. Had no idea. But rage running, to where that happened too, where I would work out on I'm looking over at my treadmill right now. I'd run my ass off until I was just exhausted that I just had no choice but to get out of the diaper and go to bed. So I don't know if I answered your question. I just rambled.
No, you didn't. You 100% did, because you and I attend meetings together all the time. And, the best thing I think you can do, number one, is reach out to your accountability people. But even sometimes, getting on a meeting and just sharing, and saying, hey, listen, here's what I'm fucking going through. I need some help.
Yeah.
And it's amazing the help that we get in our community. Community is definitely the opposite of addiction, or connection is, whichever you want to say it. And it couldn't ring more true, without a doubt. If you and I, are having a bad day, we can reach out to each other or all these other people. It's amazing how the Reframe community that we're in has come together.
When I first found Reframe, I joined as cutback, even though the situation that led to that was I was drinking at an airport and was completely blackout drunk. I still am not sure how I got on that plane, how they allowed it. I had a paper ticket. When I woke up on the plane, my palms were bruised and my knees. So I had fallen down at some point. Still have no idea how they let me on that plane. And I was going to see Michael when he was up in North Carolina. And that was the day that I found Reframe. I said, I think something's got to change, but I still hadn't quite accepted that I could be alcohol free. I just looked for cutback. I was looking for cutback. And I did the first 1,000 hours, and I somehow didn't ever find the meetings. And after that, I got through the 42 days, the first 1,000 hours, and I was successfully cutting back. Well, we went through the holidays. Everything, it was my first sober Thanksgiving on my own. And, I drank, but I didn't, everything was good. Got through New Year's, Christmas, all the things. And then by the time I got to March, I was right back to square one, where I was making decisions that previously were unacceptable that became acceptable. And so when I re-downloaded Reframe and found the meetings, that really was the game changer for me too, Ryan. I found the community, and I found the stories, and I found the people, and that's really what made it so much easier. I mean, I don't want to let myself down, but at the same time, I don't want to let anybody of my accountability down either. Like to go to the community and say, I made a decision to drink again. And, you know, I just, it would be heartbreaking for me. I would feel like I would have let myself and so many people down. And not that I'm judging people that drink, you do your thing. I just know for me, if I start, you know, that off switch is just non-existent at all. Yeah. and I'm going to go down that path again. And I don't want to be that person ever again. And I want to be, you know, who I am today. And I want to keep growing and learning and exploring and all the things. So all my best friends are reframers now.
That's right. That's what I've always said. It's like I've all these new friends now. It's like, I don't need the old ones anymore. They didn't serve me any good anyway. I got all these new friends. So when we met last time with Jessica, I know you guys talked a lot about mental health. Jessica and I are very open about our mental health, and you are as well. So I just wanted to ask you about, you know, how that's changed as well since becoming sober, how your mental health has completely changed. If you could just, you know, elaborate on that or talk about that, that would be great.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny because I think we drink because we're depressed or we're lonely or we're bored or, you know, you've got anxiety about something that's going on and you think that alcohol is going to cover that up. And it's just proven now. I know, I didn't know that then, that it made things so much worse, especially on hangover days where you're trying to, you know, work and get through and your head's pounding and you're nauseated. You know, how is that productive at all? And you know, I think for me, the first 3 to 6 months of just adjusting to not drinking anymore, I did see an improvement, but then I also had to deal with the shit that I was running away from and really facing that and talking about it and being honest and open about my struggles with just being overwhelmed or having too much on my plate or not having boundaries with certain situations or people, and learning how to navigate, you know, being an adult, you know, without putting booze on top of it to numb it. So my mental health has definitely gotten much better. I can't say it's perfect because I feel like the first year for me was kind of stringing all the days together. And then the second year has been really figuring out, you know, kind of the root causes of why I did things and reliving some of the traumas that I had within my first marriage that, you know, that just a lot of things, you know, or just, you know, life that, you know, we all have our stories. Right. And I think for me, part of it was almost like cleaning out a closet. It gets messier first before things get reorganized. And so I was kind of in this summer, you know, I'm starting a new business and I've got all these goals and I've got all these things that I want to do, and I want to do it all at the same time. I want to do it all at once. And then it just piles up and it piles up. And then there's this perfectionism that I say I'm working on, but yet I'm really not, because when I do fail at something, or if I don't get it done, I'll give myself grace and I'm just going to go to bed now. Well, then I'll just start over tomorrow. Well, then there's beat up that I didn't get it done, but I'm going to forgive that day and I'm going to start today. But then I'm going to go through that same cycle of not getting everything done because I've got so much on my plate because I want to do all the things at once. It was this cycle of beat up and just overwhelm, and the anxiety started creeping up again. And, you know, with my oldest going off to college and, you know, things changing and, you know, all the things I want to learn and do, and then not hitting those goals that I'm setting for myself. Yeah. I mean, there's some harsh words going on inside of me. And, you know, I talked to my counselor, my therapist about it. And she said, you know, I don't think you're giving enough space to your son leaving for school. And I don't think you're giving enough space for this and that. Your priorities are great, but you gotta, you know, let's give a few things up and let's concentrate on one thing, master that and move on. And, you know, and you need to go and switch, you need to get on something. So I was a little resistant to getting on an antidepressant, and it wasn't because I'm against antidepressants. I'm 46 years old. I already have trouble sleeping. I already have, perimenopause where occasionally I wake up drenched in sweat going, what the fuck is wrong with me? And why do I need a towel to lay back down on my bed because my husband's asleep and I can't change the sheets? Like, what is going on? And having already some of these other factors going on, and then adding an antidepressant and getting back on my ADHD meds, I'm concerned about my sleep. I need to be able to sleep. I need to know about the side effects. There are some deal breakers in those side effects that I have some problems with. And I discussed it with my doctor, and, he said, it doesn't have to be forever, but yes, you are depressed. You're heading down that road, and, school's starting and Ryan's leaving and the days are about to get shorter, and we need to kind of nip this in the bud now. And, after talking to my doctor and to Michael, I agreed to switch from the anti-anxiety meds that I was already on and switch to a full-blown antidepressant, and agreed to, take my Vyvanse the way I'm supposed to without the coffee. And the last 3 weeks have been already a huge shift where I am feeling better and I don't have to worry about, drinking. And, it's just been this, I don't think I answered your question properly, and I'm still talking,
No,
but there was still anxiety and depression that did happen, but it just didn't feel as huge. I guess it felt more manageable because now without the alcohol, I'm dealing with it. I'm not ignoring it. I'm not sticking my head in the sand, and things are it's just better. It's just better to talk about it.
Mm.
Well, and I have a friend who said, well, you should make your proud list every day. And every day when you do something that's made you proud, write that down. And I loved that. But I'm like, but that's another fucking thing for me to do and remember. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So
I know.
I incorporate it when I can. If I've said, oh, I'm really proud about that, and I remember, I might write that down in my little journal and cruise through that. But it's so easy to focus on what didn't get done rather than what did get done. So I do appreciate that advice. But again, sometimes I'm like, but that's just another task for me to sit down and do.
But I think that what a lot of people don't understand, we had this conversation, is like, I use the shower example. Like, Ryan, how many tasks is taking a shower to you?
Yeah, to me, it's one. You just get in the damn shower.
No, it is like 50 tasks. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Or he'll be like, we need to go to the store. We need to go to Costco. I'm like, but I have an appointment at 2. He's like, it's 9 a.m. I'm like, right, I have an appointment at 2. I don't have time. He's like, we have like 5 hours. What are you talking about? I'm like, well, I have to get up. I need to have coffee. I got to do this, and then I have to shower. And, by then, like, gosh, I'm already running late. He's like, you are what? What? We had this conversation the other day. I was like, I have all these things on my plate and I just need you to help. He's like, well, just tell me what to do. No. See, look at her face. It's like, because telling you what to do is 30 more tasks. And he's like, but I'll do whatever you want me to do. Just tell me what to do. Oh, I don't want to tell you what to do. Just do the things. I'm telling you, I'll do the things. Tell me. Never mind. I'll just do them myself. Yeah. And you get stuck in that cycle. Mm-hmm. But I think it's beautiful. We're learning and we're growing. And it sounds like you guys are doing the same thing. And,
and I think, but not recognizing the mental health portion of it at the beginning was helpful, because for me, it was just so socially focused on not drinking and just becoming healthier, that really uncovering the anxiety and the underlying things kind of happened later. I always joke and say, the first 90 days of being sober was a whole lot of what the fuck is going on, it's a whole lot of what is my life now? And a lot of questioning who you are as a person. And so going back to figuring out now, some of the underlying things, I'm glad they didn't happen at the same time for me. And not to say that I'm still not working on my alcohol free, but for me now, it's just so non-existent in my world. I still occasionally get a craving where I'm like, like we'll go to a restaurant or something, and I'm like, I would really love to be able to have a glass of wine. And I start to put on that shitty diaper. And then I think, again, it's just one glass. Like, it's really not worth it. It's, and it was never just one. So why are you having this fit over one glass of wine with dinner just to be fancy? So I'll just look at the waiter. I'm like, I would like a club soda with ice in a wine glass. Or I've even I've ordered drinks in a martini glass. I would like you to bring me a cranberry soda, put some cherries in it and bring it in a martini glass. I have zero shame when it comes to ordering what I want, because sometimes it's just the glass and just the feeling of, fancy or whatever it was to make you feel like you're still fitting into your old life without the consequences of it.
All right, so just a couple more things, and we'll get you out of here. So somebody just starting out, what advice would you have for that person that's just, maybe a week or two in, or hell, even day one? What advice would you have for that person that's
keep showing up,
made that decision, like, I got to get sober?
Got to get sober. Keep showing up. Show your face. Ask for help. Talk about it. Ask for help. Is the biggest thing. And it's so hard because, like I said earlier, alcohol to me is just such an isolating thing that everyone thinks that they're holding on to all this shame over, that lack of control. And, asking for help is the biggest thing that I recommend, and throwing yourselves into those meetings and really being present and authentic. You don't have to share. You don't have to get on camera if you don't want to. None of those things have to happen, but to show up and really listen that you're not alone, and maybe even just start participating in the chat. Just start there. And hey, I need help. And people will talk to you, and finding people within that day one frame or wherever you are, it doesn't have to be. My accountability group, I joke and say I'm the grandma of the group, not only in age, but in my sober date. And, so it doesn't have to be, but just, listen to the people that are there and be supportive and just show up, keep showing up. I mean, that, I'm telling you, like, Reframe saved my life from financial and possible, like, worse. It really did. The people, my best friends, unfortunately live all over the United States, and two of them across the world, that I can't be with all the time, but the people there saved my life.
Absolutely. 100% agree. So now I'm going to ask the hard hitting question, that's on everybody's mind.
Okay.
Where is the craziest, funniest place that you've peed while you were drinking? Hard hitting questions from Sober as Fuck.
Okay. So I am in the
Sorry.
I am in the furniture retail world, and I go to furniture markets. And if you've ever gone to any of the, home decor furniture markets, you know that the bar carts roll out at 2:00, but you can literally eat and drink your way through market. And so we're at High Point Furniture Market, and my partner didn't really drink. I had been drinking, hitting the, because it's free. You can't not hit the open bar carts. You can't not go to the showrooms and get the extra champagne. I was drinking my face off, and she's like, hey, we got to catch the bus because they have these whole shuttle systems that take you back to your hotel. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go to the bathroom, one more drink. I'm like two-fisting it into the bathroom, chugging them, because again, there's no off switch, and we have to get as much in as possible now because there's no booze at the hotel that we're staying at. So I am drinking my face off. We catch the bus, and these shuttle buses have a route, and we were staying in Winston-Salem, about a half hour away. So as we go along and we're stopping and we're driving and we're stopping and dropping people off, my bladder starts screaming at me. I don't know if I've ever experienced such bladder pain in my life, but I'm sitting there dying. And I'm like, I think I'm going to pee myself. And she's like, you can't pee on the bus. There's no bathroom. We're just sitting there, and we finally get to the hotel. And I'm like, and we can see it, but like, there's one over here. And I'm like, maybe I could just run across the parking lot and make it to the room. She's like, you can wait. It's 5 minutes. It's fine. We finally make it. They pull up in front. And just as I'm getting off the bus, because I stood up and I'm running to the hotel, and there's a trail, and then you're in this hotel, and you're like, I've just wet my pants in front of my coworker, but thankfully she's my best friend too. I've worked with her since we were 19, and I'm just like, oh my God, thank God it was with her and nobody else. And trying to like wash your pants in the hotel, oh, it's terrible. And I'm drunk. It was terrible. That's probably my best pee story, is I peed all the way into the hotel. But thankfully I finished before I got into the room. So the room was fine.
There you go.
The room.
Do you think that they like went back and watched that on the security cameras and laughed? for the remainder.
I sure hope not. I'm just glad I made it off the bus because I mean, like I have a name tag on with my company name and, and oh, it was terrible. So hopefully it was just us and a few of the other buyers are like, what is happening to her as she runs? It wasn't pretty. It was not a proud moment, but it was funny. And she will remind me every night, hey, remember that time?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Always, it's something you'll never forget. That's for sure.
Yeah, anytime you're like,
that's what I love about
restroom,
it.
they're like now,
Like
or in
now.
10 minutes
That's
from
right.
now.
It was so bad. Oh gosh, yeah. So that's my
awesome.
funny pea story. So
Love it.
Love it.
yeah.
Well, Janae, thank you so much for joining us.
This
We
was
both
fun.
really
you.
appreciate it. Yeah, you know how much we love you. We love you so much.
I love you guys too. Thank you so much.
Congratulations on everything. Congratulations on the new venture. I'm very proud of you for that.
Thank you.
That's really branched. That's awesome. So looking forward to big things with that. And with that, we're going to let you go. We're going to say goodbye. Thanks so much for joining the podcast. We really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Janae.
And I'll see you guys soon, I hope. So
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Next
We'll
month,
see you
right?
in Dallas for sure. Absolutely.
all right.
Thanks,
Take care, guys.
Bye.
If you love the podcast, which I know you do, please like, subscribe,
and hit that notification bell to get
Boom.
notified every time we post.
That's right. Dropping them, baby. Word.